Chemistry videos. Mass to moles, to molecules, to atoms. Things you need to know for the mandatory pass exam. When given a problem and having to go from mass to moles, like you have 20 grams of water or something of that nature, and they want to know how many moles it is, it's a very simple thing to do. You take the mass that you've been given and you write it down. So say we've been given 20 grams of water. Let's just make it 18. 18 grams of water. Okay? And we need to go to moles. So we always want to put on top where we want to go. Let me get rid of this. Seem to be having some difficulties here. I put the moles on top, and I want to put the mass down underneath, because that's where I want to get rid of. So here I would put the mass of what I determined from the periodic table. Now the periodic table is the one that I need to use to determine how much there is in 1 mole of water. So I would take a look at the periodic table, and then from the periodic table I would figure that I've got hydrogen, which equals 1 gram, and I have an oxygen, but I have 2 of them, so I'd multiply that by 2, be an X there, and there's 16 grams there. So I add that all up and I would have 18 grams in 1 mole of water. Okay? So I would then take a look at this. Let me get rid of all this now that we know how we'd get there. I get rid of all of this stuff in here. Now I need to just take what I've been given. So I've been given 18 grams of water. Okay? So with 18 grams of water, I would then put my lines in, and I would want to go now to moles. Okay? So I want to put on top 1 mole of water. Okay, and we just figured out that there is 18 grams in 1 mole of water. Okay, so then get rid of this over here. Okay, so then this would cancel. This would cancel. 18 times 1 is 18. 18 divided by 18 equals 1 mole of water. Okay? I realize that's a little messy, but you kind of get the point. Now, if I'm going in the other direction, and I'm going to have been given the amount of moles of something, and I'm supposed to go to mass, then I would just do the reverse. I would take what I've been given. Say I've been given, 2 moles of sodium. And they want to know how much mass is that. Well, then I would write that down. And once again, I want to now use the periodic table. I look at the periodic table, and I say that 1 mole of sodium, 1 mole of sodium is 23 grams. Now, which one do I put on top? I want to go to mass. Mass would go on top. Mass is grams. So I'm going to say there's 23 grams of sodium in 1 mole of sodium. Now that I know where I want to go, then I would cancel out like terms, moles of sodium, and then do the math. 2 times 23 is 46. 46 divided by 1 is 46. What units are left? Grams of sodium. So this is the way I would go back in the other direction. So whichever direction I want to go, I put on top. If they're asking me to go to mass, mass goes on top. If they're asking me to go to moles, I put moles on the top and the other one at the top. Now an example problem. Let's take a look at the periodic table and say that they ask you to, you have 100 grams of calcium carbonate equals how many moles? Okay? Well, to determine this, the first thing I want to do down here at the bottom is I want to write down what I was given. I'm given 100 grams of calcium carbonate. Okay? Now I got to figure out what is the molar mass, the amount of grams or mass in 1 mole of calcium carbonate. So I need to take a look at this periodic table over here. So if I take a look at the periodic table and I look at this, then I have calcium, which equals 40 grams, and I have carbon equals 12 grams, and then I have, we'll just write the little symbol down below here so everybody knows, or that's carbon, excuse me, and then I have oxygen. So oxygen, which is 16 grams, but how many of them I have? I have 3. So I do all the math. 40 plus 12 plus 16 times 3 is going to give me 100 grams per mole of calcium carbonate. Okay? So we'll take our periodic table here and we'll squeeze it back down, put it back over here out of the way, and then we'll do our math. Now, we've just figured out what the molar mass is here, and they want us to figure out moles. So I put my line, I put my moles on top. 1 mole calcium carbonate is 100 grams of calcium carbonate. First thing I do is cancel like terms. I got a gram up here, and I got a gram down here. So anything that's above and below the number line I can cancel. That's what math tells me to do, okay? So the only thing I got left is moles, which is what they asked me for. So 100 times 1 is 100. 100 divided by 100 is 1 mole of calcium carbonate. That's the way we would get that taken care of. Now, just make sure that we know how to actually find the molar mass of a compound. So when we're looking at this, we need to make sure that we understand that all of these numbers that are underneath each one of these, okay, is the mass of 1 mole, okay? So I have to look at my compound. Say I'm given magnesium sulfate. Okay? Now that tells me that there's 1 mole of magnesium. So I would come down here and find magnesium and say there's 1 mole of that, so that's 24.3. It's telling me that there's 1 mole of sulfur, so I would come over here and find sulfur and see that that weighs 32 grams. And it's telling me I have 4 moles of oxygen. So that would be 16 grams and 1 mole, but I have 4 of them, so I have to multiply that by 4. Then I would add all of those up. The rules. The rules are very straightforward, okay? Number 1, write down what you've been given. My writing's a little sloppy here, but I'm kind of in a hurry. Okay, number 2, place on top the unit you want to go to. In other words, if you've been given grams and asked to go to moles, you would write down the grams, and then you would find out how many grams are in that mole, put the mole on top, the grams on the bottom, and then the grams would cancel out. And then the last thing is cross cancel all like terms. Now if you do this and lay your problem out and cancel out all of the like terms that are above and below the number line, and you end up with the term that was what the problem asked you for, you know you have it laid out correctly before you do any math. Now, if I am supposed to go from moles to molecules, so now they have given me moles, but I'm supposed to go now to molecules, this is the only time that I use Avogadro's number, which is 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, because we know that in 1 mole, okay, there is 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules, atoms, shoes, whatever, in 1 mole. So I don't even have to worry about mass and figure things out here, because I am still working on what exactly I have in 1 mole. Now if I'm going from molecules to atoms, I've already went from moles to the number of molecules, and I got to the number of molecules by using 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd per mole. Now I would then have to then multiply this by the number of atoms in the compound. So if it was water, I count 1, and there's 2 there, that equals 3 atoms for each and every molecule. If I happen to be looking at calcium carbonate, then I would say I got 3 here, there's 4, there's 5, this is 5 atoms. So if I'm asked to go to atoms, I first must be able to get to moles. Then I would use to get to molecules by using Avogadro's number here. Then I would have to multiply this by the number of atoms, and that is specific to each compound that I am actually using. Now for practice, let's just say that you are told how many atoms, number of atoms in, let's say 100 grams calcium carbonate. Now, I'm going to give you a couple seconds here. Go ahead and press pause if you want, but you go ahead and try to figure this problem out, and then I'll step you through it. Alright, first thing, take what I've been given. 100 grams calcium carbonate. I need to go from grams to moles, from moles to molecules, and from molecules to atoms. Step 1, write down what I've been given. Now I got to go to moles. Now I'm just going to write this down because I've already looked at the periodic table, but if you looked at the periodic table and you added up weight of calcium, the weight of carbon, and the weight of 3 oxygens, you would find that this equals 100 grams per mole. Now, as I told you, where do I want to go? Moles. I put that on top. 1 mole is 100 grams. Okay? Now, I need to go to molecules. Okay? How many molecules are in 1 mole? I'm at moles. I need to go to molecules. So I know that there's 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules in 1 mole. So as I said, we cross cancel like terms, and if I end up with where I need to go to, then I'm exactly where I want to be. And the last thing it says is how many atoms there are. So atoms in each molecule. So I count and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 atoms in each molecule of calcium carbonate. Okay? Molecules of calcium carbonate, molecules of calcium carbonate. I end up in atoms. So then if I do the math, I would end up with 100 times 1 is 100 divided by 100, so I've got 1 mole. 1 mole contains 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. So I've got 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. I need to multiply that by 5. It's going to give me a 0, 1, 3, 0. Okay, 2, I got to move it over, so that should be 3.01 times 10 to the 24th atoms. Now, you need to watch this video as many times as possible. Just remember to write down any questions that come to mind and bring them to class and ask them so I can try to help you out. As always, the rules are, write down what you've been given, then put on top where you want to go to. Cross cancel all like terms above and below the number line, and then make sure that when you're done canceling everything out, the unit that remains is the unit that the question asks you for. Then when all that's done, then you go ahead and do your math. Remember, chemists try, never give up, and stay gritty.